Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Kendo Tips. My name is Jose. I am a Golden in Kendo, and today is going to be a very special stream. I have a guest today who is a sports psychologist and also a Kendoka. So I hope we can learn a lot about. We're going to tackle the four sicknesses in Kendo and how they relate into sports psychology and what can we do to prepare or prevent falling into these things. So I'm very excited to have um, let me just say this. For me, Kendo Tips, it's about putting our knowledge together and spreading it out there. So I'm very happy every time that I have a guest. But for this one, I am very excited because it's something completely different, something that maybe not too common to see, but something that I truly believe is very needed. For those of you who may not know at this point, my field of study was music therapy, and with a minor in psychology, I focused a lot into addiction treatment, and I fell into sports psychology's research very early on, and I found it very interesting and applicable to many things in life. So I'm very excited to actually have a friend of mine come in and actually talk about these things and how we can relate them directly into Kendo and maybe who knows to our personal lives. So let me know if you have any questions. We're here. She should be joining us shortly. I started a little bit earlier to allow YouTube to start sending a notification. So if you could please take a second, hit the like button, send out this stream to more people out there, and if you could share it, it will be very helpful. Let me just make sure I have everything set up. I have all my notes and all my things are on here. Oh, okay, I think I'm getting the call right now. Give me 1 second. Hello.
Hello.
Hi,
Okay,
can you hear me? Yes. Okay, so let me set up everything in the stream so everybody can see you and hear you. Just give me 1 second. Okay. 1 second. I do it so many times, and then when I do it so many times, but I spend so much time between every time I have a guest that it always throws me off. Okay. Nice. Cool. Okay. Okay. So I believe everybody, if everybody can let me know that if there's sound coming on from her and image, everybody should see it. Maria, if you want, you can open up, if you're in the computer, you can open up a separate window for the stream so you can see it. But if you do so, can you please put it on mute so that way it doesn't interfere with our conversation?
I need a time because this sounds complicated.
No, if you need to.
I can do that.
If not, I can just read the comments.
Just give
as
me
well.
a sec, okay? Because
take your time.
As I understand, I just have to open a second window.
Just want to make sure that we have enough volume.
I know how I will do.
Okay, if we have somebody right now in the chat, if you can let us know how is the mixed volume between my voice and her voice, I will appreciate it.
For anything, for now I just see Jose, so it would be nice to know something that someone else is here too.
Yeah, we have a couple people on the stream already, but I just want to make sure that we're getting some good connection. Let me see, I'm checking. So yeah, if you open up a window with the stream on the side, you're gonna be able to see, like how many people on the stream right now and who comments or anything.
Oh, I see myself. This is
okay.
Interesting.
Cool. Justin says that everything sounds good. Everything, it's a good balance.
Great.
Let me just double check some things over here.
Oh, I see that the video goes later than my voice.
Okay, let me see something. Let me see what can I do. Saying something?
Something?
Okay, perfect. So, okay, we're getting a couple of saludos, José. Placer que estés aquí. Okay, so it looks like we're getting good sound. Let me try to get. Can you hear yourself from the stream?
I turn off the sound in the screen.
Okay, it's perfect.
And it's loading now.
Good.
Maybe this is too much for my internet. Most important, I hear you and I see the messages. So.
Okay, like as long as yeah, I think the information is good. Oh wait, did you cut the video? Oh no, the video's coming up. Yeah, maybe it's a little bit of a connection issue, but it's okay. You're frozen. Okay, I see you. I just keep clicking things. I'm sorry.
Try to change internet. I'm really sorry because I live in the small village, so sometimes it's not so fast.
It's okay. And this should be pretty light, but if you feel like you're having trouble, you want to change the internet, let me know. Like I can just start getting questions from people. Um,
Okay, so just give me 2 seconds. I just try to change the internet now. We will see with it, okay?
Sounds good. I'll be right here. Awesome. Sorry guys, a little bit of technical difficulties. It's okay, we're gonna solve them up. José, gracias por dejarme saber. Esta es una invitada que tengo que es una psicóloga de deportes. So, vamos a ver qué buena información nos puede dar. Okay, everybody. So maybe this is what the plan is. I have a couple of questions set up. Some of those questions I got sent out from you guys through the Discord server. So if anybody would like to be part of the Discord server and join us, let me send the link out there. Maria, are you back? Okay, I think she's back. Okay, can you say something?
This works. If this doesn't work, I will come back on my previous internet. So
No, I think this is perfect. I can hear you, I can see you, everything's good.
perfect. That's good. I'm happy to hear that.
Okay, awesome. If we have any problems, what we'll do, we'll improvise, but we're good.
They don't have to see me. They can see you. That my voice is just important now. So
Okay. Okay. Let's. I was telling everybody that we have a couple of set questions. I didn't get a chance to tell everybody that we actually came up with a lot of things to talk about. So we're gonna try to keep it short today because we want to do several sessions. Let's call them that, of us discussing all these elements of how sports psychology can help us not only in Kendo but also outside of Kendo. So
differently outside of Kendo and then more in Kendo.
good, awesome, yes, perfect. So let's do something. Can you give us a little bit of introduction of who you are? Maybe how did you get into Kendo and what is it that, a little bit of your story.
For those people who don't know me, my name is Maria Bover, and I am from Poland. I'm 33 years old. I feel a bit like in the school now to introduce myself because normally on the lectures I just talk about my work and a bit about my sport career, and this is a bit opposite. So this time I will start. I practice Kendo for more than 15 years, of course, in Poland. I had a lot of chance to travel around the world, and thanks to these possibilities to be a national team member, I met on the World Cups, and this is great thing which also keeps me in Kendo. It's opportunities to meet really great people around the world. But coming back to, so I'm fifth dan and a national team member from. And with my team, we have medals on the Europeans, and we, in my opinion, my team best result were quarterfinals on the Worlds in Korea, and I was awarded with a Tosha, which
Nice.
was my personal really great success. And of course, I compete on the Polish championships and the European competitions also with successes. So this is my Kendo story. And what I also want to maybe say, which I think it's important because it's part of who I am, I Kendo as a sport. And I know and I have big respect for everyone else who treated it differently, and they treat it more like art and like a Buddha. So everyone, in my opinion, in Kendo, and this is also important to respect it. So for me personally, it's more about sport.
I
So
understand.
there's sports psychology.
I understand. So let me, because I think some parts may have gotten a little bit cut off, so I'm gonna try to ask you a couple questions to make sure we get the whole story. What years was it that you said that you started competing nationally or internationally? Sorry, that I think this part got cut off.
Team, I am for like more than 10 years. Actually.
Okay, cool, awesome. And maybe a part that got cut off a little bit to the end is that you see Kendo, you see more of the sports side of Kendo, but you understand how people can see it also as, like the more budo, let's just call it budo, I guess, side of
Yes.
things. It's interesting, because I feel that there is a lot of times there's a big like black or white separation.
Which shouldn't, in my opinion.
Correct.
But
Yeah,
yes,
like,
yes, yes.
I agree in the same thing, and it's very interesting because I feel that there's many people that they go so much into one side that they just cannot accept the other side. But what I'm trying to explain to everybody that this is not the case right now, right? Because this is exactly what she said. She said understands the other side, and this is how she says it, which I appreciate you do that because I always try to tell people that whoever comes into the dojo, it's important for them to come into the dojo for what they enjoy and what they want to get out of kendo rather than an obligation, right? So this is just my personal point of
And
view in
also
that.
what I, which is beautiful in and so beautiful in Kendo, respect, which you have to have for your opponent, but also for people with who you work. Because even if you do individual sport, you need someone to practice and develop. So you're always in a group. So even if someone has a different point of view, different approach, very important it's to respect. Most important, respect second human being, but also their opinions. And second part, which we will talk about today, the psychology, which is beautiful because good or you separate or not. Sports psychology shows that, like in life, first we are humans, then we are athletes, and the same is here. First, humans, and we practice kendo, and what happens with our body and in our mind influence how we approach our goals.
Correct. Awesome. Yes, I agree 100%. Perfect. Um, okay, because again, we want to keep it short. I appreciate your time, so I don't want to just, you know, uh, take your time away. Um, just real quick, I know you sent me some information regarding your private practice. You do see athletes individually and teams as well. So what I will do is that I'm going to maybe put it in the chat the way maybe that for them to contact you, your Instagram and
Great.
your website. So if anybody would like to, contact her and seek out for more personal help, you can do that as well. But also, we're hoping to kind of build something together and see if we can help more people along the way as well. So please, if you have any specific questions for her, I'm gonna put out in a second. I'll put out in the chat the information. Um, okay, so maybe we should start going into what we came here about. If anybody in the chat has any specific questions about what we're talking about, please put it out there. I will be reading them, and I'm sorry I haven't caught up with a lot of the comments because I'm still dealing with the guests and stuff. But if you have any questions, please put them there, and little by little, we're gonna start trying to answer them the best possible. Okay? So let me just catch up with where we are. Okay, so can you please just tell us a little bit about what is sports psychology and what is it that we can benefit from maybe either having a session or understanding what sports psychology, can benefit us from. So it's a little bit, what is
So
sports psychology?
important, I would like to propose that we are not going to make it as a lecture because for lectures people can go everywhere. I would prefer to do it more like I do it on the meetings with people with who I work. So let's make it like a conversation. I'll also ask you questions.
Okay.
And I work with all rank of people from junior to senior, and I really ask which I'm going to ask you to the juniors because when they come to me, they are always scared because they don't know who is psychologist and sports psychologist and so on. And I always ask them, who do you think is a psychologist and why athletes need a psychologist? So this is a question for you, Jose.
What, who do I think is a psychologist? Okay, I see a psychologist as a guide, as somebody that can help you, not as a guide as in somebody that will tell you where to go, but somebody that can help you understand where you need to go and where you should be going based on your own personal needs.
And this is exactly what general people see psychology, and this is true because psychology we have it everywhere around us. It's like in a community, in a job, on the street, it's everywhere in the dojo. So the job of the psychologist it's not to give you tips, it's not to tell you what you have to do. The job of the psychologist is to describe what happens to you based on your story. And now I'm going to say something for general psychologists and therapists, and then I will go for a sport. So why psychology and meeting with therapists help so much? Because when you go there and you
Maria,
describe,
give me 1 second. Like your sound is kind of getting cut off. I think you're using the microphone from the headphones, right? Maybe. If you could change it to the microphone from the computer, maybe we'll get a little bit more noise, but I think the connection would not get cut off. No, you can keep the headphones, but in Discord, yeah, like maybe you can keep the headphones, but in Discord you can change the setting for the microphone. It will be 2 seconds.
Yes.
So, oh,
Okay.
actually,
Okay. Okay. I'm so
this sounds perfect. No, this sounds perfect. If it's okay with you, like the way that it is right now, it sounded perfect. Say something. Okay, I think hold on, give it a second because Discord may take a second to switch between one to the other. Can you say something? Now I guess the sound got cut off completely. I'm sorry, this is my fault. Uh, maybe can you like hang up the call and call me again, maybe? Or oh, I don't know if you have a better idea. I cannot hear you, but okay, perfect. Sorry, guys. Yeah, Kuruma, I noticed that the sound was very spotty, and I think it's because she's using a Bluetooth headset. Sometimes the connection becomes really bad when this happens. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna have her call me again. Okay, can you say something?
yes, of course.
This is perfect. The sound here is perfect.
Okay. Good. That's good. So let's keep it like that. There's no problem for me. I just don't see you, but maybe it's not a problem.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So you were saying about the definition of a psychologist and who do we
Yeah. So
interview.
coming back for what I said and what you said and answering your question, the job of the psychologist is to help people to understand what's happening with them, and this is the first thing, and that's what I'm aiming now to say about psychology in general and why psychology and therapy works. Because when you go to meet with a therapist and you have to tell them what's happening in your life, he doesn't know you so much. With time he will start to know you better, but still he's not your friend, he's not your family, he doesn't have an opinion about you. He just meets you once for a while with based on the information which amount of the information which he brings. Also, when you have to sell something, you don't tell it to someone who already knows the whole story or community around you. You have to use it to describe it to someone who never met those people, who never been there, never like feel the things from your side. And in that moment, first of all, the way how you use that teach you something and shows you a new perspective. From the second part, which therapist or psychologist does, he explains what happens with you. And then there's a third part, which is the most important, is you try to find the skills, coping skills, or new techniques to deal and develop. And now I will go to sport, because in sport, that's why I like it so much. In sport, you talk about your experience during the competitions, before the competitions, after the competitions. And again, we listen to it, we like describe what's happening, and then we find the most important, maybe not most important, the best way for an athlete, which helps him to deal with those things. So generally psychology helps you, but not the psychologist helps you. The conversation, exchange of the informations, and the knowledge which psychologist has helps to find the correct and good path for you as an individual human being. And
So,
then we make a yes.
sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Just to summarize it, so the main goal here, especially we're working, whether it's a psychologist or sports psychologist, is to identify problems, put together different perspectives, and then build a plan in order to overcome these obstacles or get the results you want.
Exactly, and to find a way how to deal with it or to understand it, understand yourself, because there are different paths.
Awesome.
And why in the sports psychology, why it's sports psychology, even sometimes we say we are psychologists who works in sport. It's like normally you learn, for example, you have you want to learn how to deal with your emotions, or you want to learn how to deal with the stress. So you go to the meetings, you learn about yourself, you exchange informations, you get tips, and you learn its mental skill, how to cope with emotions and how to cope with the stress. But in the sport, it's a bit different because you don't learn how to just deal with the stress. You learn how to maintain this skill, for example, which is typically and only for sports psychology, is that every athlete has their individual level of arousal. And what is even more interesting in martial arts is that our arousal can change from your opponent, or it can change during the whole day. So you have to have a lot of like information and self-conscious. What do you need? What a level of energy do you need? So with sports psychologists, you don't only work on what you think, but also what your body needs. So these two things are very, very important. And in my work personally, I really put a lot of like focus on the body, because our body gives us so many informations, and to keep it in the shape which we feel good, or even if we don't feel super good, but especially in that moment, how we can use that level of arousal and what we can do about it, like in very short.
I understand perfectly, and I'm gonna try to not nerd out too much because I'm gonna go too long if I do. But one thing that I can relate a lot to what you're saying, it's for me. I remember early on in the competitions when I started competing, I will always remember feeling scared before going into the court, but I always felt that when I had this feeling, I had a better performance rather than if I felt going in, I don't know, confident, or if I went in with a different feeling. So it's very, I understand what you're saying, and it's very interesting, to see this from your side. So, okay, sorry. Keep going.
No problem. I'm happy you have it. So this is the beginning, because you ask what the sports psychologists exactly do. So we have different, also to finish this whole question, we also have a different fields which we work with athletes. So I'll ask you another question now, because I believe also in America, but around the world, there is a common belief that athletes are superheroes. So if you're an athlete, you can face everything. Like when I was a teenager, my friends always were saying, you're an athlete, you don't have a problem with that. And I was like, I'm a human being. I can have a problem. So the question is for you again, like I ask juniors a lot of times, why do you think athletes need a psychologist? For what?
Well, again, because we're just people. We go through our own personal issues that can, what's the word, hold us back through our performance. And yeah, we all have brains, and we all have to learn how to. The brain doesn't come with an instruction manual, so learning.
This is very beautiful what you said, because a lot of times athletes comes to the psychologist, sports psychologist, when something holds them back, when they hear that they are really good on the trainings but not good on the performing, or coach doesn't know what to tell the athletes to change the situation, and they always like to say like, there's something wrong with your mentality, go for a mental coach or something like that, which is not bad. Just it's one moment when you have difficulties and you cannot let's say get what you want from the sport, not only in sport, and this is also which I want to say and stuff, because a lot of people think that sports psychologist is only for athletes on the highest level, which is not true. And this will be a short lecture because athlete is a every person which makes and takes part in the physical activities and have some goal. So for example, if our goal is a kendo grading, you're an athlete. If
Okay.
your goal is to develop technique, speed, or any kind of level in kendo, you're an athlete. And it can be categorized like amateurs and professionals, but there is one more category which is definitely for sports like kendo. It's semi-amateur and semi-professional. So we don't earn money on it. We don't get extra. We don't have so many events, and we don't travel and live from that. But we train almost the same amount of trainings and physical activities as professionals, because some of the national team members, but not only national team members, train minimum 2 to 5 times per week. So
Yeah.
this is professional level of training. And we are amateurs because we don't earn on it, so we need it. So our bodies, it's even more tired because we train, we work, we have families, and we have duties. So this is a third category. So if you, and or someone who listens to our talk thinks that, no, I'm not an athlete because I don't run or I don't ride the bicycle or anything like just like that. If you have a goal, the physical activity, welcome in the athlete family. So this is the first thing.
Makes a lot of sense. And actually, there's something that you mentioned there that I think it's a big point to address. And maybe we can even make a whole stream about this is the amount of time spent training. When is it enough training? And how does it compare to, trainings of professionals? In this case, comparing them to Japan, for example. For me,
Yes,
I always find the question of people feeling that their training is not enough because the dojo only opens twice a week, 3 times a week. But of course, there are things that we can do, not even physically, but also mentally, that it's considered training for us to keep going and improving our
yes,
performance.
like also this is a lot of times what I experience in my personal practice. It's that we are as athletes or as a competitors or anyone who makes physical activity, there's this normal belief that if you train more you get better. Actually, all the science about physical activity sports say that the one thing which is the most important for your development is rest, and this is the key of the success. And a lot of people who are semi-professional, semi-pros make these mistakes that they don't rest. So sometimes they don't see development because their body didn't have time to rest and learn it. So this is really great topic we can talk about.
This is actually a very interesting point. Of course, I try to talk to as many people as I can and try to get as much research. And every time that I talk to a personal trainer or an athletic trainer, this is the first thing. The first two things they ask you to do before you start training with them is to regulate your sleep and your nutrition, and then you train. So this is very, very interesting that you bring this up as well. So everybody, go to sleep on time and eat well. And I
At
need
least
to.
try. At least try. Yes.
I
So
need to
so
do that as well. So.
do that. Be an example for us.
Okay, so will you be okay? Maybe we can start transitioning into talking directly and more about, I guess, the four sicknesses. How can we start implementing Kendo? Because I don't want to take too much of your time, and we can spend hours or days just talking about all this stuff, as we have had in the past, by the way.
Exactly.
So let me just set up here. I'm gonna say this, guys. Please let me know if the sound becomes a problem or something on the stream side, and then we can find a different way. I can just put only the sound from her, and it will help. But just please keep me updated because I can't hear what you guys hear. Okay. So you know, as I mentioned in the title, as we talked before, we kind of wanted to talk a little bit about the four sicknesses in Kendo, and I think the way that we landed to this conclusion is because we understand that these four sicknesses are, you know, mind orientated. Let's just call it that, right?
Yes.
So the four sicknesses, as you know, as we normally describe them, will be surprise, fear, doubt, and hesitation, right? um, these are things that we will experience during our match and even during our training. So, what are some of the things that maybe we can? Okay, so I'm just gonna get each of those sicknesses and kind of degloss them a little bit, and maybe we can talk about them specifically. But the one for fear,
Yes.
for example, has to do with when you face somebody that you feel, or maybe you see it is very strong, or it's gonna be stronger than you, right? And I think this kind of relates to what you just said, that people think that more training equals better performance.
Yes.
So how can we
So
get away from this?
this is beautiful. The last question which you ask is most beautiful in this topic, and this is why I ask and we talk about it to choose exactly these four sicknesses. And again, I will start with the question: why do you think those things like fear, hesitation, rest of them, why they are sicknesses? Why we call them sicknesses?
In the sense that they are, let's say, weakening the system. They're weakening you.
Okay, and the result of the weakness is what in sport? If someone weakens you,
Um, Underperformance.
exactly, and that's why we choose it because, and we call it a sicknesses because in sport and in a sport psychology, you try to find a like medicine for something which weakness you, but in the end, it weakness your result and your performance.
Yes.
And I said everyone wants to have a good results, and I want to talk about it's this is great what you said. We'll go through each of those sicknesses, and but I want to talk about them from 2 points: from sports psychology point, and in general from psychology point of view. So with the sports psychology point of view, what we are going to do is, like you said, we have a fear, and now we'll talk just a little bit about it because just about one fear we can talk just about this topic
Yeah.
for hours. But we will go through each of those sicknesses and say the medicine, so what we can do, what sports psychology gives us to deal with it, but also I'll tell the informations from general psychology, and maybe this extra point of view will also help with healing them, and maybe we can try to a bit change approach for them. So
Okay.
as you said, sickness is when something is weakens, makes us much more weaker and we underperform. And this is also beautiful what you said, because a lot of times people say they are afraid and it influences them if there is a stronger opponent. But also a lot of times, and I think each of us experience, is when you face a, let's say, less experienced opponent. And then it's also a fear. If I will perform well, I'm going to win fast. If I'm going to lose fast, what they can do, because they are unpredictable. So what is very important and why this influence our performance, because the fear, most important with influence is our body. And then that different fear, because generally in psychology, fear pushes us to attack or to run away. But sometimes, not a lot of times, but sometimes it also makes us frozen. So we don't do anything. This is very rare, but this also happens. And the thing and the way to deal with it, from the first of all, it's every time very individual. So we have to figure it out what actually makes like starts the fear in you. What is the main reason why the fear? Because you're afraid to lose, because you're afraid. Mostly it's because people are afraid to lose. Let's face it.
Yes.
This is the most popular, even with the strongest one. Oh, I'm going to lose in 2 ippons in like 20 seconds. And what they do, they just stand and they don't do nothing because they are afraid it will happen. So very important thing in a sports psychology, which we teach people, is about what we can influence and what we cannot influence. And also very important thing which I want to mention now is the language which we use, because every word has a meaning. And in Polish language, for example, influence, depending from the situation, we can have two words. And in English, sometimes it's just one word, which helps a lot of times, but sometimes make confused.
Yes.
And in martial arts, we are taught, and they teach us that we can influence our opponent. So this is thing which I already want to give to all of you who are here, that if you influence something, for example, now we talk, and the way how we influence each other, we ask questions, we can comment, we can smile, but if I ask you a question, I cannot say in 100% what you're going to answer, right?
Correct.
Yes, so I can, for example, let's say for the future we want to have a different topic about sports psychology, and I want to propose you this topic, and I will talk with you and give you reasons why we should do it. But I will never know for 100% if you agree for that. And the same is in Kendo. We can make seme, like pressure. We can try to open an opponent, but we never know for 100% if they are going to do what we want.
And I'm gonna add a little bit to that based on what you just said, that the responses, and this is something that I normally try to bring up to people watching my channel, that I try to make things simple. So applying this directly to Kendo, I think many people would have a pattern of response, and the pattern is already set up, right? Either a person will attack, run away, or freeze. Right? Like,
Yes.
these are the only three possible answers. So the communication is becoming simpler this way. And for each of those possibilities, I guess we can also plan a response, or I start training to have a response. If the person attacks, you have Oji Waza, you have Devana Waza. If the person freezes, you have Shikake Waza. And if the person's going back, well, then you have to close the distance and attack in a very simplistic way.
This is the best way to deal with the fear. So combining those two things, because you said there are 4 possibilities. So we don't know for 100% which possibility will be used. So the possibility appears and we adjust. But we don't have like influence. We can manipulate the opponent. Only thing on which we have influence in our life is us. And what does it mean? It means if something happens, like A happened, we do B, and then we know it will be C. And in sports psychology, the best example is if you start to feel that your muscles get stressed or like tense, or you don't have energy, you regulate your arousal, or you try to relax, or you try to pump yourself up. And then you know from those 2 techniques that result will be relax or more stamina. And only this is what you can influence. And this is the first thing which, and also you give a beautiful answer about influence, which is the second thing. We can influence our thoughts. So this is what you said. I push, he will do one of the 4 reactions, and for those reactions I already have an answer. And this is the way how we deal with the stress, like not with the stress, with the fear, I'm sorry. If we are afraid of something, we try to put the focus on us, what I can do with the situation. What are my skills? What are my experience? How I can deal with that?
And this brings us to a more focused training as well, right? Like it can help us take more advantage on the time that we have for training.
For example, even let's say on the typical basic of I will face, let's say, more experienced Kendoka. If he is more experienced, so what I'm afraid of, he attacks more, he attacks better, he makes push, anything. And then you prepare your trainings or part of the training to practice your response for that or what you can do about that. And then you're ready. So if he does it, if he does that, you do that and another answer, and then you adjust. And then it doesn't mean the fear will disappear totally. And this is the step for psychology which I want to tell you. So from sports psychology, we go now to the psychology. We don't want you to not to feel fear, not to be afraid. As you said, when you were afraid, you fight better, right? In the
Yes.
past. So we don't want those feelings to disappear. We just want to cope with them. And this is the beginning of what I want to add extra from psychology side with the sicknesses which we are going to talk today. I want to ask you to try to think about those things that they are not sicknesses. They are normal parts of our life because, as you said before, we like to say things are black or white. They are good or bad because they influence us somehow. But actually, fear, hesitation, doubts, they all have a task. And the task of the fear is to inform us that there is a danger. A lot of people just stops there. Okay, there is a danger. I'm scared. And they just stops there. Then the next step, which is really important in our life in general, like you want to go for a bigger salary, you want to approach for a new job, and then you go for a CI or for Jigeiko with Nanadan. To ask yourself what skills I have to deal with the situation. And this is how you deal with the stress. You don't focus only that with the fear. You don't only focus on that I'm afraid. Then you make the second step, what I can do about the situation to deal with it and to overcome it. This is a psychology. And then as a sports psychologist, we focus on how you can regulate your arousal, on which certain skills in your sport you can focus, what inner dialogue you can use, what helps you before, like pre-start routine before every competition and every fight, how we can build this. And those are, I know I say generally because all those things are very individualistic.
Yes.
From psychology, so from acceptance that we can have a fear, which inform us, and then we have to focus what we can do about it. We go specifically for what helps us individually and what we can use.
I'm going to say this. I hope people here are taking notes. I am taking mad notes at the moment because there's a lot of things, and I always try to simplify things. So I'm not saying I do this for myself, so I can break it down and internalize this thing and make sure that I don't have to think about them as I'm doing. But so I want to rephrase what you said. Tell me if I'm on the same page. So one thing that I really caught my attention is how fear allows to know when there's a danger, and in a sense, for me, it kind of also means that it will allow me to know what do I need to focus on for my training or even for that moment in the Shiai. If I feel that, okay, I'm afraid that he might be pushy, then I can start accessing my repertoire in my head. What do I do against people who are like this? So I guess this is my way of simplifying it. And then you also... Oh, sorry, you were saying something?
No, I said this is the best way. You simplify it very good. Please continue.
Cool, thank you. Okay, and the next one is learning how to regulate our our arousal. Like let's just call it like our feelings at that moment, and it's also allow us to understand what is the right feeling for us to have at that moment. So maybe that's something that we can talk about it later. What's the right mindset or the right state of mind that we can have for the moment?
This is my favorite because I think, which is really, this is why I love sport, because the feelings during fight or during making an exercise, it's a perfect being here and now. And if we listen to our bodies, we get so many answers. So the task is to learn to focus on us and how to use the information from our body to get what we want or do what we want.
Cool. Quick little thing. I'm gonna try to catch up a little bit with some of the comments. Hachi is passing by the stream and he says hello. He says hello to you. So Hachi, thank you for being here. Doan, thank you for passing by. I'm glad you're here. And Luis also, thank you for passing by. Let me see. So, Rice, you're saying that many things an opponent can do when you add an input. Communication with your opponent, you start moving is basically a question to your opponent. So have an answer to the response. So pretty much what we were summarizing, like when what you said, when you are there, you have the intention, the communication with the Shinai, you are trying to cause a response, and it's our part of our training to identify what responses we can have to this possible response, correct?
To use those two words, as I said, the words has a meaning. So we manipulate. I know the manipulate has a bad meaning because of media and so on. In psychology, it doesn't have. It's not bad. It's like you do something to influence your opponent, but you don't know in 100% it will influence him how you want. You just choose techniques or the ways which be like in a percentage, they make your percentage of chance of reaching the reaction which you want the highest it's possible. And this is manipulation. But we only influence ourselves. And for example, with the fear, we cannot influence if the fear appears or not, but we can influence our reaction on it. So I start to feel I am afraid, I quit or I don't quit. I start to feel afraid. Okay, what I'm afraid of, from where it comes, and what do I need to overcome the situation to deal with it, and what I need for my body to regulate it. And this is what we can influence based on our self-conscious.
And
So
the more we talk about this, and it's fun for me. It's funny that we started with fear, because everything that we're saying, we're talking about the response of our opponent, or what our opponent is doing to move to change us, right? But then it also kind of starts touching the part of surprise.
yes, and this is beautiful way through the next one. Beautiful. So let's continue.
Awesome. Go.
So let's say again, I will ask you a question. How this is one of my favorite questions to ask, and if here today on the stream there are anyone who are teachers or like student teachers, but also Kendo teachers, or you try to teach Kendo, or you try to give someone an advice, try to ask them similar, not the same question, but similar questions. So how would you how you would explain to 5 or 6 year old kid what is surprise?
Oh, nice question. When
I like my job.
When surprise is when you are, I'm gonna try to say it in words that I will definitely use for a 5-year-old. Okay. When when you don't know some news, and you are told the news and they are very exciting.
Okay, this is like a positive surprise, which is beautiful. So this is also
I don't want to
important
scare
thing.
little kids. Come on.
That's good. Very good, coach. So why I ask you this question and why it's good for coaches? Because when you ask questions like that, you have, as you said, I will use the words which are easy to understand for 5-year-old kid. And what we do as a coaches, a lot of times we use words which we understand or which are specialized. But even if you have a Kendo player on the same level as you, it doesn't mean he exactly the same thing as you understand it. So if we simplify, I think this is an English word, if we simplify descriptions of what we are talking about, it's easier to understand what you want to say, but also how your student understand that. And this is really good because surprise is a news which we get and which can give us which can make us happy, but also why they are surprised, because we are in our head, we have a pattern, or pattern is a hard word, but let's say it's for a 5-year-old kid that we are expecting something to happen, but totally something else happened. And then we are surprised. Our brain is shocked. Like, what just happened? This is a surprise. And now again, why surprise is a sickness in Kendo?
Well, again, because it can weaken our performance by holding us back on not only by holding us back, but also by doing things that we don't want to do,
For example, like what?
like attacking when we shouldn't.
Okay, great. So the surprise can start the reaction which we don't want to do. And did you ever saw in the soap operas or movies, like comedy movies, how people face react and how they show that they are surprised?
Yes, yes.
What they do then
Like
when they are
open
surprised?
open their eyes a lot, maybe open their mouth.
Yes, and they do something like,
Yeah, and they go back, breathe in.
yeah. And why this is a sickness in sports? Because as you said, you talk about the reaction after. So we are confused, we don't know what happened, and our body just automatically do something. But before that, there is even more dangerous moment because we stop at the fight and the life doesn't stop. So you're surprised and you have this breathing and your mind is analyzing and your body is frozen. A lot of times, this is why how stronger opponents wins with the less experienced one because they surprise them with something and they are like and everything is open. Yeah. So the what sports psychology propose for surprise and for this, let's now keep calling it sickness, soon will change it. It's to be prepared for surprising moments. This is what you said. You talk with people who listen to you, and in this group, what are the possible answers? And there is an exercise that you write down all the possible surprises you ever experienced, you ever saw on the competitions, or they are really out of your mind what can happen. Like, I don't know, let's say another shinai falls on the shiaijo, or you doing a jigeiko and there is an alarm and you have to stop, but they don't say you don't have to stop and then you continue. I don't know. I just really take it out of my mind. But
Actually, I'm gonna drop one in there that maybe this is not surprise, but it's something that I see a lot of the dojo. That maybe person are doing jigeko and they're supposed to be focused on their opponent, and then a student comes in late and opens the door, and the person has to turn just to see.
like, what happens? Yeah, exactly. So you also write it down. So you make a list of all possible things which might or ever surprise you or your friends. And then what is the next step? You write all the answers, what you should do then, or what you want to do then, or what is a good reaction for that. And then because by this you have a training already. You teach your mind. Because then this is not unaccepted. Like not unaccepted, how you say it in English? Like this is not as like this happens and your mind already know, okay, this happens, I do that. It's not like this happened, what now? Hurry up. But this happens, I do this. This happens, I do that. This happens, I do that. And then you're not surprised anymore.
Yes.
And then the
And
sickness disappears.
and I'm gonna take it into like a physical aspect of this. I'm just gonna make it relatable because I used to use during my sessions in treatment when I was working in addiction treatment. I used to have a very similar analogy where I would tell people that when you want to have a response to everything, right? Like if you get a craving, if you get triggered, you want to have a response already. And this is no different than when you see like in the kung fu movies, like 100 people just throwing that one punch and they're kind of trying to reply to a specific situation. They imagine a punch coming, they block and they hit. Because most people, like let's say, and you'll see this in the movies, right? Somebody comes with a bat. Many people, they just put their hands in front of them, try to block, but that's not gonna do anything against the bat. But somebody that's trained doesn't do that. It's, he already trained the response, let's just say that. So
Exactly.
bringing it into Kendo, I would say that if you already know what you get surprised about, like if you're somebody that gets hit men a lot, for example, you get hit in the kote a lot, maybe you can start planning your training based on what responses can you have to somebody that gives you pressure for kote. I don't know, just trying to make it.
That's really good. But we can also make a different example. Like You go for an opponent you fight with so many times in your club, and you know that they always easy. Let's say they always attack, but today they are tired or they had a bad day or I don't know, their girlfriend pissed them off and they don't attack, and you're surprised why they don't attack. So this is also, that's why now we go again to the psychology. Why I propose to not to call it a sickness, because again, surprise is information for us. In that case, it's information that we were expecting something. But on a shy, in martial art and in sport, of course, expecting something helps our life to be easier and faster and more comfortable. But it's very important to be prepared for unexpected. So surprise is the information that you took something for granted. But in sport, especially martial arts, we cannot take anything for granted.
Wow, this is a very good quote. This is a very good quote. Never take anything for granted, and it's such a perfect way to put it in, right? Because this is what happened a lot. Like when and for me, I feel like it happens a lot to people when they're fighting to somebody that they don't know what to expect, because from a beginner, for example. So this is it's crazy. Dawn, give me 1 second, Maria. Dawn, thank you very much for upgrading your membership. I really appreciate the support on the channel. Really appreciate it. Thank you very much. And Galaxy, welcome to the stream. Okay, sorry. Just quickly.
No, it's good. Yeah, we do it for them, for us and for them. So I'm happy there are people and they appreciate your job, because I really appreciate your job too. So this is very rare thing what we do. So congratulations.
Yes, and this is something very rare as well, and something I forgot to say early on, that in the past, doing this type of things for Kendo, I feel that it was like kind of looked down, right?
Yeah.
But now we're becoming more open and we're sharing more information. And I do have to say that I think the secret for the future of Kendo outside of Japan is for us to find our own Kendo. So we need to find.
100% agree.
Cool,
Okay, but
awesome. Okay, so we're talking about surprise. Anything else more that we forgot about surprise?
I don't think so. Just like, again, with fear and with surprise, of course, this is what we say, they are sickness in sport because they influence our performance, is totally right. But I would like to propose to not to treat them as a sickness, to treat them more like an information, which are not black or white. They just give us information for, if we want to develop, we look at them, gather the information which they give us, and develop. Like you said, if you're afraid, you simplify the situation and learn for reactions. If you get surprised a few times with something, you write it down, you find the answer, and then you're not surprised anymore and you're prepared. They are just information for development, not sicknesses, or because people are afraid, or I will do this, or I will do that, or I will be surprised, or I was surprised, and then they get angry at themselves. Again, we are humans.
Yes,
We get
yes.
To learn. If you don't learn, how you want to be better?
So
we cannot be, especially in sport, you cannot always win.
I agree. One thing I'm just gonna recap, so especially because I know people start joining in a little bit later, I kind of don't want them to miss out and have to go back right now. So with fear, it's a good method of information for us to understand what should we do in order to train ourselves better, in order to be prepared for the possible responses that we feel in danger from, right? Am I summarizing around the ballpark?
It's very beautiful summarizing.
So a way to, sorry, I guess you say this because always the question is, how can I deal with feeling afraid for my Shiai? And a good way to deal with fear is to have already a training to the situations where you feel afraid. So train yourself in order to have a response for these things.
Bit like exercise training, like example, you get afraid, so you ask your question, what I am afraid of. If you're afraid of, let's say, losing, so how I'm losing or how I lost with that person. And then you adjust the training to, I lost like this, what I can do about it. I am afraid of they will make Kaishido, what I can do for Kaishido. I am afraid they don't do anything, what I do for that. So you have a emotion, you ask yourself from where this emotion comes from and what I am afraid of, and then you find the answer how I can deal with this situation with your own skills and training.
Which is different to surprise, which in surprise is when you start taking things for granted that you were not prepared for.
Yes.
Correct?
So it's exactly. And so if you don't want to have treat things like take things for granted, you have an exercise, you write down everything which can surprise you, and then you have an answer. But you always have to be open that there can be surprise. So it's important. This is one thing which I hope talk in the future, which is the main goal of sport, to be here and now and to adjust.
Perfect. Gregory, thank you for becoming a member as well. I really appreciate the support. Okay, we talked about fear and surprise. Now, it's I just want to gloss them a little bit. Give me 1 second. Doubt. I want to kind of transition into doubt, because doubt is, as I understand it, is when facing an opponent who you cannot read or you're unsure about because of their style, and you have doubt on your ability to deal with them. Correct?
So you yourself.
So it causes like indecision. It causes like, so doubt has to do with indecision.
Okay. So again, how would you explain doubt to 5-year-old Kendoka?
Or to 5-year-old, it has to be a kendoka. I was gonna give chocolate examples
It
to
can
a
be a kid
kid.
in general. It can be okay, but that's true. Better 5-year-old kid. What is doubt? What are doubts?
When you have two dishes that you really like, or two desserts that you really like, but then tell you can only have one.
Okay, so this is more hesitation than doubt. Because with hesitation, like you said, you have two things and you don't know which you want to choose. Like you're on the fight and you don't know what is better for you to do. But when you have doubts, it's like because they are very similar, and this is tricky in the
Yes.
mentality. A lot of things are so similar. Like fear is very similar to stress, and other side. Surprise is connection with the fear and with the doubts and hesitation. So they are very really like in links between them. So doubts is similar to hesitation because you doubt, but you doubt something. That's why you hesitate. So what are the doubts then? I think I said good in English. Doubts.
Yeah. Okay. It is very tricky. So then doubt has to do with indecision. Like maybe doubt of that.
This is good. Let's stop here. But so if you're indecidable, this is the word in English.
Indecisive, I guess, will be
Indecisive.
Yeah.
Thank you. Sorry. So if you're indecisive, so what is before? Why you're indecisive? What influenced you that you're indecisive?
Options.
To have a different options and you don't know which to choose. Like hesitation. But which is really good, that's why they are very similar.
Yes.
But what is important? This is what so many times in Kendo teachers say. Don't go backwards, always go forward. Don't be afraid, attack. Because why people don't attack? Because they have doubts and then they cannot make decisions what to do because they don't believe they can do that in a good way to have a ippon.
Okay.
Sorry, I just opened the doors for my dog.
Go ahead. This is very interesting. This is an amazing time, and I feel like I'm getting like a free session of training here. So I'm very grateful to have this opportunity.
Like that. So, He's always with me, working with me. So this is Lucky. Hello.
Oh my God, look at Lucky.
Hi guys. He never has doubts. He always knows that he wants cuddles or food. This is also a really good moment that he appears, because a lot of times on session with athletes, what I do, I always give them example of the dogs or cats or animals. If you ever have a connection with them and they never think about the result, what can happen. It's just here and now. So, for example, dog, he doesn't even know that we are talking. He doesn't see the computer. For him, there are furnitures, me, and I don't cuddle him. And this is the only thing which is important. He doesn't think about future and about past. So he doesn't have doubts. Because a lot of times our doubts are based on our future past experience or future fears. Because we didn't do something in the past, so we are afraid we are not going to do it again. So we are not sure, so we don't make the decision to do this attack now, for example.
So doubt, what you're saying is doubt originates from previous experience or negative expectation of possible results.
Exactly.
Okay.
And the doubts are very connected with our self-esteem. Yes, self-esteem. Because we can have a self-esteem, self-confidence, or let's say self-confidence as human beings in general. Like me, Marisa, I have this amount of self-confidence. But in sport, people separate it and they can have a different self-esteem as an athlete. So let's say they have good self-confidence outside Kendo, but in Kendo they are the beginners, so they are hesitating. But hesitating, this is different. Let's say they are doubting. They can do an attack on, I don't know, Sandan, because he's a Sandan, so I don't know if I can fight with him, because they have doubts of their own Kendo level. Or even differently, you are a strong Kendoka, you have a lot of experience, but we like to say in Poland, you have your nemesis. With a lot of times.
Yeah.
And then you have doubts. Oh my God, I lost with him or her, or this happened, or he always knows what to do with me. And doubts push you and influence you to have hesitations and indecisions, because you doubt yourself that if I can do that with this person.
This is so useful because I think that this happens a lot. Especially, I think it happens a lot in mixed categories or of competition. Like if somebody is a shodan and has to go fight a sandan, maybe they haven't fought this sandan specifically, but they had some bad experiences against other sandan and holds them back. Correct?
Yes, exactly. Beautiful. So doubts are very connected with our self-confidence, but this is even bigger topic. And again, that's why we choose 4 sicknesses, because as you can see from this conversation, we can have so many, just one topic, like self-confidence or self-confidence. It can be just one topic separately. And this influence so many things in our life, but also so many moments in our trainings. And the problem, the sickness in the doubts is why is a sickness in sport and why it puts our performance lower, because as you said, we are indecisive.
Indecisive, yes.
Yes, thank you. But it starts because we don't believe we can do it. But the biggest difficulty with the doubts is that we are so in sport, and this happens in every sport, no matter which sport I work with, every sport, all of it, every sport. But this is very interesting. In sport, the main thing and main belief is, like as we said, you have to train harder, like you have to train to be better. But why we train to be better? Because we focus on our mistakes. And we forget to focus on what we are doing well and good, which brings us where we are now. And because those things are obvious. And obvious is the biggest enemy of an athlete. Because when something is obvious, you forget about it. So maybe this is obvious, you're fast, you're in a good shape, you make good kotemen.
Yes.
This is obvious for you. But when you start to forget about it, and your confidence is not strong because you don't remember you can use that. And this can give you extra points on the fight or even on the training. Because if you're in a good fit form, there can be trainings like oikomi, kakarigeiko, and you do it. Because and then you're not afraid, oh my God, I will be tired. Then you start to remind yourself this obvious thing.
Yes.
Okay, I'm fit, I'm wealthy, I like trainings. Okay, let's do it. Let's make breaks and then do it. It's a totally different approach. And then, because if you forget about this, then you can have doubts. Oh, it will be hard training if I'm going to do that. Or what does it mean? And this is another part, totally from psychology. People like to measure themselves. They are good or bad based on their performance. So, if I'm going to do that, am I a good kendoka in the end? And then the fears appears and so on.
I see.
That's why this is very, 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 very important to learn to see things and teach people to see things which they do good, the skills which they have. And again, people think like, okay, I'm fast, I do men, kote, do, and this all. But there are so many other categories which are very individual and also very important for us to feel more confident. But as I said, this is a totally different topic.
Now, I'm gonna piggyback a little bit on what you said. One thing that, especially because I saw a couple of comments, I want to bring them up. But one of the things that you just said that it sticks out a lot to me, and I think one of my first videos that I published in the channel and always been my mindset when it comes to Kendo is that we are too critical of our performance, especially when we watch our recordings. We always try to look for the bad things, and I don't think we spend enough time kind of rewarding ourselves for the hard work that we had, and to build that confidence, that to build that. Yes, I think the perfect example you gave it, when you build this confidence, that doubt start going away. And Dawn actually made a very interesting comment, and something that I'm trying as well recently, not recently, but in my Kendo right now, that he goes for men, without caring of getting hit. So just throwing his men forward. And it's funny because Sensei always tells us to do this, but we always afraid of not getting it. But especially mixing up what you said, it brings you to the point that every time you come in that you're successful, you're building up your confidence on your strike, correct? But then if you approach this as is, if I wasn't successful, what can I do to make it successful? Then you are also working on building that confidence. So to put that up there, it's the importance of just throwing yourself, as Dawn says, with sutemi, right? Like just to be able to throw yourself into it completely. I guess you just have to force yourself into it.
I think maybe, again, maybe sports psychology will help here a bit. And I sometimes use it in my work with athletes. Sometimes, not a lot of time, but sometimes I connect and combine my personal experience with psychology. So, because and this, for sure, we can have a different topic about it, because a lot of people thinks confidence is a character, but confidence is a skill. And it's not always on the same level, and it can change. But with what you were talking about now, to attack and push yourself for attack, why people don't do it, why they have doubts and hesitation, because they are afraid of the result, and they think about the result. If the attack will be good, if I'm going to hit, if there will be a point. So those thoughts influence the attack. So they influence your body, which start to hesitate, and then don't fully approach for the hit. But if you put your mindset on that result doesn't matter, which is really hard to say and to do. Hello?
Yes, I can hear you.
So I never tell the student, because this is what Kendo coaches try to say, teachers, sensei try to say. Oh, don't worry about the result. I'm so sorry, but this is not true, and everyone worries about the result. So what I'm trying to tell the competitors, try to think that the result is a side effect of what you're doing. And if you focus on doing, then you will have a side effect, the result. And in that case, because if we try to force ourselves, finally we will get a result, but with a lot of struggle. But if we are going to focus and aim that the goal is just to go for it, and this is a success already, that you went for it, no matter of the result, this is the first step. And then okay, I already learned how to go for the attack. So the next step is when to see the opportunity, when to create the opportunity. This is the next task. And then you already learn it. So you have the small step, as you said on the beginning by yourself, that you simplify everything, and then you make it easier for you. And why people hesitate? Because they are worried they are going to lose. They are not going to do something correctly. And when we put our thoughts differently, like correct and winning is a side effect of how we do it, and that we must try, then it's totally different. And then the doubts are different, and they are really small, because you just doubt maybe if that was a good moment. That's only what you can doubt by the situation.
Very, very interesting. I'm gonna add up something here. Manuel, he sent a comment asking if doubt is the same thing as insecurity, and I think we've been using the word. We've been exchanging this word consistently. So I want to let them know that this is pretty much, we're relating them to each other.
Yeah, but what I will say, maybe they are connected, but they are not the same. So doubts can bring, like, they can build insecurity, and insecurity can make doubts stronger, but they are not exactly the same thing. Maybe this clarification.
Yes. And the reason why and thank you for that, because sometimes I take it for granted. I know there's many people that their native language is not English. My native language is not English either, so I know it can be tricky. So please don't feel afraid to ask questions as we go.
Yes.
Kuruma, he actually brought, I think, a fifth fear to the conversation, and maybe we can talk about it later. So I just don't want him to feel left out, but he's talking about stage fright, like but I think all of them relate to what we're talking about at this point.
All those, actually, this is very beautiful. Kuruma, what he wrote is like all those 4 fears, they influence our body, that there is a stage fright. So the stage fright starts from like those things together, or each of them influence the stage fright. So the answers tips which we give now, they can help to deal with the stage fright. But every stage fright individual thing.
It's an individual thing. Okay. Now I know you told me your stance, that you know the sports sides of Kendo, and there's other people that take it on the opposite side, on the Budo side completely. As I mentioned, if I was like in the Jedi universe, in Star Wars universe, I'll be a gray Jedi, because I will not be a Sith, and I will be like in the middle, I guess, between. But Dawn makes a comment about understanding that when you get hit, it's a good thing as well. And I think this is one of the beautiful things for me in Kendo, that I always try to allow my opponent to know when they hit me, not only to give them feedback, but also for me to accept that I got hit. Because many times I feel that I say I didn't get hit, and then I kind of erased it from my memory, so I cannot learn from this opportunity. So
beautiful. I totally agree. Yes, because again, this slight conversation goes for this very important thing which we already said, that we are so much focusing on the result and so much focusing on the success, that we are afraid of losing, and we are afraid of losing points or doing something wrong. But if we don't do anything wrong, we don't learn and we don't get stronger.
Love it.
Those are always the lessons.
And I guess we can transition into the hesitation part, which goes into, I guess, confusion, right?
Yes. So
now,
again, what would you say to the 5-year-old kid? What is hesitation?
oh, now,
Because
I
you
can.
said a really cool example, so you can repeat that, or you can do something else.
Let me try to think something else. Okay, when we talk about hesitation, I was gonna say I think this is not for a 5 year old because 5 year olds don't drive. But when you're driving and you see the yellow light, are you gonna accelerate or are you gonna stop for the red light? What type of driver are you? I don't know, but I guess this could be a hesitation thing where you're thinking too long. And it's funny because
Mm-hmm.
when I was learning to drive, my uncle was teaching me to drive, and he told me like, if you ever think about this, if you have to think about accelerating or stopping, stop. You know,
Yeah, that's
don't
good point. Mm-hmm.
don't
Driving.
yeah, yeah, like don't if you have to go. So I guess in a sense he kind of gave me a prepared answer to the hesitation, but okay. So I guess that I'll take that as my explanation of hesitation.
Great. And let's go forward with that. So if you're in this situation, but let's put it in sport because we talk about sport and martial arts. How does this influence our performance?
Well, I guess number one, it can be hurtful to the timing of when things should happen. Right? It can take away from when I should perform. The other one, it could be that I react or I choose the wrong path. So let's say that I try to do, and I think this is common to see, try to do Kai Shido, but there's no man coming, so they get hit on the kote, right? So that's one, I guess.
Great, great. So it is all hesitation, which when they start, it influence very much our mind and influence our process of thinking. So as I said when Loki was here, what dogs do, they are here and now. When we hesitate, are we here and now on the fight?
Okay, okay. We're not.
Exactly, because we start to think and analyze things which are not happening now. So even if something like your uncle say, if you hesitate, you stop.
Yeah.
So if something happens and you hesitate and you start to analyze, your mind goes different paths and your opponent already can change something or he doesn't change anything. So you have to adjust. But hesitations start the thinking process, which influence your body because when we think, the body is, you're out of your body, you don't listen to it, and your time reaction change, it slows down. That's why this influence our performance. Analyze.
I'm gonna sorry, like I got a little bit distracted because we're getting some cool comments.
Yeah.
So, but I was gonna say with what you were saying, and I'm sorry, I kind of lost my train of thoughts for a second. But when you were
No,
saying about not being in the fight, I just wanna just give a little example for the people out there because a lot of times maybe you think you're in the fight, but you're not. And what I mean by this is that maybe you almost got hit 5 seconds ago, and you're thinking
Yeah.
about you almost got hit 5 seconds ago. So you are in the fight, but you're in the fight 5 seconds ago, not now.
basic thing which we do in sports psychology, basic, to teach people to leave past behind, to accept the possible future, and to focus on here and now. Because again, why I love sport, because sport, why people love to go for trainings, for gyms, for running, because they say, I don't think about the job, I don't think about house problems, I don't think about anything. Why? Because you think on the moment and the exercise now, on your body, on the action, what happens now. Sport gives us the best possibility to be here and now. Just when we start to compete and we want to get a result, and this is important for us, the different process starts to happens to us. And that again, as I said, with 5-year-old kid, how you explain them and teach them and explain the topics which we talk now. I always try to talk with people to, when you fight, when you compete, try to go back to this moment when you were a kid or when you start, and you just do it for doing it. And then your body do everything what it can do.
So when we talk about hesitation, okay, we talk about being in the moment, fighting in the moment, and like just focusing on what's happening right now. Do you have an exercise or something easy or quick that we could do to bring us
Yeah.
back into the moment?
So this is, I'm so happy that hesitation is on the end of these four sicknesses, because as we talk about fear, and as I said, this is a part of sports psychology and exact tips what we can do. At least trying to give you a small tour about sports psychology, what you can try to gain from it. With hesitation, the beautiful thing goes even farther just for only a psychology. As I said, none of these things is bad or good. They are informations. And first and the easiest, but actually the hardest thing with the psychology and with hesitation is to accept that you can hesitate.
Mm.
This is the hardest because we always want to have an answer. We always want to have a reaction. But if we accept that we can hesitate, then we don't start to process like, oh, what should I do? What should I do? Then you have this, okay, I hesitate. Let's observe and
Okay.
then do. And also, here is another thing, another separate topic, which we can also talk in the future, is focusing. Because a lot of times, which happens with hesitation, and this can be also a tip, it's better to practice it and find the answers for that by yourself or on the meetings of sports psychologists. But when we hesitate, we start to analyze what happened, as you said, or what our opponents do. So our focus not only goes out from the fight, but goes on your opponent, on him, not on you, not what are you feeling, where are you standing, what do you want to do now, and how you feel now. A very important skill in a sports psychology is to focus on yourself and on the things, as we said before, which you can influence. So this happened, like this build a hesitation, and like your uncle said, you stop. So if it brings you a hesitation, you wait. You observe not only the opponent, start to analyze what you can do, but you observe the most important, what I can do now, how, where I feel confident, where I feel comfortable during the fight. And this is exactly what we talk about in Kendo. So those are accept and how to summarize it, and put back focus on you, what you
Okay.
want to do.
Focus
This
on
new
you.
situation. Yes.
And what you said, focus on you, is kind of, I was saying, regroup to bring yourself back into your ideal state. Correct?
Yes, exactly.
Awesome.
And
Awesome.
also this is why again it's so beautiful to finish with a hesitation and with this part of general psychology, because one of the most important lessons which psychology brings for people and teach in a therapy, but in every different topics of psychology, is to learn to accept you can be weaker, well, to accept you can have different states in your body, to accept these things can happen, and learn how you want to deal with them in this moment.
Perfect.
This is,
Perfect.
in my opinion, pure Kendo. Because if you accept all what happenings now, you can adjust.
And I'm gonna add to what you said, because I think that the ideology or the idea of stopping, it's good. I just don't want it to get misinterpreted for Shiai specifically. Is that, and please correct me if I'm wrong, when she's saying stop, it's not about just freeze in the moment, freeze in place. It's find a safe position, a safe place where you can adjust, regroup, and re-engage. So for me, what this means is to make sure that your kamae is natural to you. You don't have to think about kamae, and kamae means to have good position, good posture, and be ready for the opponent, whether it is to dodge, deflect, attack. But don't just freeze there. I don't want these things to be, misinterpreted. Correct?
About freezing is about finding the most safe and comfortable position. Like position for you. Or distance even. It can be also a distance.
Finding, yeah, so because it's very, very important that we understand that, in Shiai, I feel that sometimes people have the need to have to do something to attack, at all the times, right? So it kind of ends up looking like a karageiko sometimes. And
It depends from the levels, of course, because as we are beginners or we grow above the stage of our like experience, this is also connected with the arousal. When you start, when you have a high arousal, you attack a lot because your body has so much stamina, so it attacks. But when you gain an experience, or if you gain regulation techniques to regulate your body, then you attack less because your body doesn't have so much energy to put out.
perfect. Normally, like what I have done in the past, and of course I don't want to get too much into it because we can speak for hours, we can talk for hours. But normally, what I tend to do in this type of situation when I need to regroup, it's to I have like a simple phrase that I keep in my mind, like my process goals, like relax, approach, whatever. And I kind of just go into my position and repeat this to myself because this could happen it could happen for many reasons, right? It could happen for me, for example, I attack several times and I couldn't break through my opponent's distance even. And then this starts kind of creating that hesitation. So I need to make sure to keep doing, what I train myself to do.
And this is basic and typical sports psychology because it's called the goal tasks. And this is the most what we teach athletes. So to be on the fight, like you said, if you focus on this, you're aiming on these things which are important for the process of the fight for you, and the side effect is successful point or not. But this is just a side effect of the things which you repeating yourself in your mind. Bravo.
Cool. Thank you. Okay, we cover all this
Four sicknesses, yes.
all these four sicknesses. I feel that we gave a lot of information to people. I don't want to overwhelm people, and I also want to, I want to go deep into each topic every time we go into one topic. So I kind of don't want to just spread out too much. I did get a question from Nicholas that he's asking, and I'm going to maybe rephrase it. So Nicholas, please tell me if I'm not asking it correctly. But he's talking about, give me one second, having too much tension, right? So I am going to guess that he refers to having too much tension, muscular wise, having too much tension. But obviously, there can be mental tension as well. And for me, I guess it looks in the way of I'm thinking too many things, right? Maybe.
But this is so cool what you say because, again, as I said on the beginning, and now this is a good moment to repeat this. In my way of working with athletes and in general in sport psychology, we always connect mind and body because in sport, our body is our tool, but it's better to treat it better than a tool. So the tension, which even if you say if there is a mental tension, like we think too much, this influence your body because then the reaction of the body and the arousal change. And also if there is a tension in our body and our muscle are tense, then we start to worry. So they are always connected. And one of the things which we teach athletes and in every life situation psychology teach people is to learn to regulate your arousal, and you can try to learn breathing techniques, mindfulness techniques, or relaxation techniques. Of course, those things which I just tell you now, in general, it's good to learn them. And there are some of them which are really specifically for sport because people a lot of times aiming to be relaxed. But if we are relaxed, like really definition of relax and how our body feels on relax, like on yoga session or on massage, then your muscle doesn't have enough tension to do properly the attack and your time reacts. So we cannot be too relaxed and we cannot be too tense. And as I said, every person, then this is one of the most important things in the sports psychology, has an individual arousal level, which you on this line of relax, maximum relax, like sleep, and maximum tension, like I don't know, really, really tense. I don't know what.
Like 20 cups of coffee. Okay.
Oh, then you die, I think. But yes, like that. Then you regulate yourself here, and you have to learn how to do it with breathing, relaxation, inner talk, and so on, and what you need.
Yes, and every person. It's guys. I'm gonna talk to everybody as well. In this is that it's so important to start knowing yourself for everything that we do, and it's one of the reasons, for example, that I don't like to share too much about working out routines and stuff like that, because everybody's at a different place and everybody needs something different. So
Exactly.
it's kind of one of those things that I know. One good way for us to start experimenting on this is, of course, copy somebody else and see what success you have. But I think there are more efficient ways of doing so than just copying. And maybe, for example, with sports psychology, it's a good tool. It's not tool, a good what's it called? I'm gonna say a good mirror for yourself, right? So I value so much, and it's a conversation that you and I were having prior to the stream. Is that there's so many things that for us that we can see how they can be applied on everyday life, and things that we all should learn, whether we're athletes or not. For me, I was telling her, like, in my field of addiction treatment, there are many things that I learned there that they apply to everyday life. And many times the focus is going to a sports psychologist when there is a problem. But and I think we agree on this, because we talked about this before, that preventative care is much more important and much more useful than treatment care. And
Exactly.
yeah, so I'm going to encourage anybody to, seek, invest on yourself by learning about yourself, whether it is with a sports psychologist, a what's it called, a personal
Mental health.
trainer, yeah, everything. Just explore a little bit, but it is somebody that has done this and has this experience. Is invaluable how much you can get for yourself.
Yes.
So yeah, like, everybody, just please, because there's going to be so much more growth on yourself and so much quicker. I think for myself, a lot of the things that I'm gonna relate it to Kendo is that my biggest growth, when I was in Japan, I thought when I was gonna go in Japan that I was gonna do Jigeiko with everybody and their mother, and they just tried to go as hard as I could in Jigeiko. But I found out that I grew so much doing Kihon, right? So it is funny that I spent so much time even not wanting to do Jigeiko, just spending the time to do the Kihon, because every time you do it right, you know it, and you can use that for, again, as we said today, to build up your confidence. But at the same time, it just gives you time to develop your own strategies and get to know yourself a little bit better to fight your hesitation. So I don't know.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
That's my rant
Yes.
on all of this.
Then I think a lot of times when I work with junior athletes, and to summarize what you said, just to add extra, because this was beautiful, this is just small add, they always say that, they always ask me why this, what we learn from you or we experience in sport, and this mental skills, why they don't teach us in school, why they don't give it us in the school. And this is, like you say, like, you don't have to get it when you have a problem. If you learn the skills, like we learn the basic skills in Kendo, as you said, when we have basic skills and we develop them, then we are stronger or hard moments in Jigeiko. And the same is with life. If we start to ask ourselves questions, be curious about ourselves, and find the answers and talk with people, like, this group is amazing, because this is a group of open-minded people who try to find a community with the answers, with the conversation, and grow. So this approach helps us to learn about ourselves and to, as I said, to develop. And this makes it like life easier. And when we have a skills to make our life a bit easier, we can put them in the sport and in Kendo.
Love it, love it. And again, this is something that we're going to be doing more, and we're going to be dealing with a lot of the stuff. I think there's a lot of information, and again, I don't want to, like, saturate people with all the information. I just put in the comments your information again. I was trying to check your website, but maybe from here, from I don't know, I couldn't access the link. So I'm just gonna say this: if you're having problems there, guys, the Instagram
Go to
account,
the
yeah, I know she answers. This I know she answers for sure. But the website, maybe there's something.
Yeah, with the website, because it's under process of changing. So just give my team would do it for, I don't know, few more weeks and it will work. But Instagram for sure.
Perfect, perfect. Yes, because I know, and follow her on Instagram because she's always sharing her work there, and this is something that you might want to keep an eye out for. Um, I think we tackled everything. I don't know if anybody has a question. Is there anything else you would like to add on to today's topic? Because I know we said we're gonna stay like within an hour and a half. So I kind of don't want to just steal your time for today.
Thank you so much. So now we wait for questions. Yes, I understand well. If someone has a question.
Okay, yes, let's wait a minute for some questions because sometimes the stream takes some time for people to see it and write it and for me to get the question. There was the question early on about stage fright, so I'm gonna build onto
Yes.
that, and I'm gonna ask you a little bit deeper. So, as you joined national team, performed in world championships, and so on, did you have stage fright? How did you handle it? Tell us a little bit about how can we handle this type of thing, and base a little bit of how you felt when you were there.
Stage fright, which is really really interesting topic, and it's not only in sport, it's also in music, but also if in the business companies when you have to present something, etc etc. It's actually all of the things which we talk today are really useful to deal with the stage fright. So just in a small, let's say, peel, the few things, of course not all of them, but few things which might help with the stage fright. And also again, really important, which always psychologist says, it depends. And why it depends? Because each of us is a different person. So as we said before, it's really really important to know yourself, to observe yourself, observe your needs, and observe what helps you. So the stage fright can depend from fear, from doubts, and from hesitations. And the most important to deal with it is to analyze why this fear, stage fright happens. What are we afraid of? What are these dark things which can happen, which we think can happen, influence us? And then how they influence us. If they make us that our heart beats so much that we think we die, or because this can happen, or it influences us that we cannot speak out loud and our throat is tensed, or if they influence us that we sweat so much and then we are worried that we will look bad and then we stress even more and then the tension goes more and more and more. So there are just few examples out of my mind. So to deal with them, and also with the sport, to find a way to not only deal with it, but how to put yourself in a state that you don't have to deal with it, but to react earlier. So important is, as we said with the fear, if we are afraid of something, to put your focus and think of what kind of skills and experience I have to deal with this situation. If you think you don't, then very important is how looks like your self-confidence and what you know about yourself, because for sure there are things which you can have, and you the skills which you have to deal with every situation in your life, but we just have to learn about ourselves. We have them. So coming back to the topic, what skills I have, if this is still hard, who can help me with this in Kendo? If I don't know what to do, I can ask, and I'm afraid of someone, I can ask my coach, my sensei, or I can ask my club members what to do.
Yeah.
Then another thing, if I have hesitation and doubts, again, as you said, I try to find the easy answers. This happens, I do that. This happens, I do that. And most important, what helps in sport, but also in every different life topic is goals and what you're aiming for, or you're aiming for. So important question is how I can get this result. And let's make it even more out of sport. Let's say you have a presentation in your job, and your goal and you're aiming to have a good presentation that your company see your project well done, and they tell you that you did a good job and you don't have to work on this anymore, for example. So how to do it? You don't have to, because we focus, okay, I want to present it the best way. And then you ask yourself, what is the best way? How I think, what I think I want to say, which will look, this is good. Well, which things I want to point out, how I want to say it, how I want to lead the whole conversation. Do I want to talk with them, or do I just want to do it fast and shortly, or I want to make a story out of it? And then when you put your focus on process, the fear goes down, but you have more and more answers how to go through it. And then in the end, if you even start to feel fear, tension, stress, one and another part also important, as I said, it's good to learn the your body self-regulation techniques, which you start to use, and then you start to remind yourself, I want to do this, and that. This is my task to focus on, and then you go. And putting that in connection with my experiences in Kendo and European awards, only time when I have a difficulty on those events, and I don't want to brag myself because every experience is different. I have to experience, I did experience hesitation, surprise, fear, all of those things, because I'm also a human. And even if I work as a sports psychologist, I go by myself to sports psychologists and psychologists to develop. I never had a stage fright, but once, and also again, this is interesting, I think, example, and I always talk about that with athletes. As I said before, the words has a meaning, and we a lot of times put on ourselves not only pressure, but we also think that we should do something. And the problem with the word should is that if we don't do it, we totally attack our self-confidence and thoughts about ourselves, that there is something wrong with that, with us. But if we do, there is no award, because we have to do it and we should do it. So you don't get. And I had one in which in that time I was Polish champion, and I was thinking, okay, I'm Polish champion, I should win this fast, and this was the worst. And we have a good path with my team, and we reached the medal. But for me, the old process was like hell, because every fight was tension and pressure, and I couldn't do how I feel good. And after that, I thought about it, and I found the answer, what I can do about that, how I can just try. I will show you in a shortcut. From shoot, I just start to think I can. I don't know in English how. Yeah, it's I can do that. I can win, or I not even win. It's not like I should win fast. It's like I can win fast. Doesn't matter. I can do this. I'm on those stuff. All this tension just went away. Like really. No, this is not can. Wait, I will check in the dictionary.
Maybe
it's a different word.
but I think I understand what you're saying. What you're saying is pretty much bring your vocabulary to a point where it's going to push you forward rather than hold you back, right? Because
Exactly.
maybe it's a fight that you could have won fast, but because of the tension, it held you back. So it kind of became a self-fulfilling prophecy, where you were holding yourself back and so on.
But what's even worse, not only the result, but worse is, because for me personally, the most important is how I feel during the fight. Result, as I said, is a different part. Of course, I'm sad when I lose because I'm human and so on. But most important is how I feel during the fight. And 2 days later, we have individuals, and I went far, and I didn't get a medal, but I went through the tensions, because I was thinking, I can do this. I don't have to win fast. I can lose, but I know I can also win, and I do it, and then I focus how I fight to do it. and then it was totally different feeling, and I was really happy during that day, and I think this is the
Nice.
most important.
I'm gonna take the time just to kind of share a little bit of mine. The first time I was in the Worlds, so my first time walking into the court, and I think I actually told this story last week in my stream. I looked up and the place looked so big and everything, right? So I could feel that I was going to start getting a little bit maybe shocked or something. But then I immediately switched myself as like, I'm here to do Kendo. So I just turned myself into my court, went into my court, and I just fought like it was another day at the dojo. And I'm not saying that it was like any other day at the dojo, of course, and it took a lot of preparation because please don't take this as a cocky comment at all. But the point is that I redirected my inner speech, right? I redirected what I was telling myself to bring
It's
me back
important.
into that position. So,
But
I,
I think from your story and from my story, what we both want to say, and it's not about bragging or anything, as you exactly said, it's like I think we both aiming to tell to the people which listen to us that most important is how we feel during the fight. And if we feel good and if our body feels good, then it's easier to fight and reach what you want to reach.
Perfect, perfect. And yes, I think this is a good transition for us to finish the stream today. We definitely, guys, we definitely will be making more of this in the future. So if anybody has any questions that you would like me to ask, maybe in the future stream or maybe along the way as we go, feel free to join the Discord server. I'll put the link in the comments right now. Again, her information for there's the website and the Instagram that you can go follow and contact her if you would like to work with her, or if you would like to seek out a little bit of advice from her. You know, those are good ways for you to do so.
Please don't,
Was that
please don't hesitate. You can contact me.
awesome? Yes. And again, if you would like to support the channel, I just sent out the link so you can become a member if you would like to do those. Maria, let's do something. I'm gonna finish the stream. You mind staying here in the call for a second so I finish it up,
Yes,
and then I can talk to you for a minute?
yes. Thank you very much.
Sounds good.
Thank you for coming. It was really nice experience and new experience for me. So thank you so much for your time, for all the people who are listening to us, because this is your free time. So thank you so much for
Yes.
having it.
Thank you very much. Okay, I'll be right back with you. Okay, I'm just gonna close the stream and I'll be right with you. Okay, everybody. So this was everything for today. Again, if you have any questions, please let me know. You can contact me through the Discord server, and we're here for you. So again, you keep me motivated to keep learning and doing these things, this type of researches, and bringing people, because this is not about me. It's about us growing together. So please don't hesitate on letting me know your feedback and anything I can do for you. Okay. Thank you very much, everybody. Galaxy, Nicholas, Discipline, Wicharugotson. Sorry, I cannot pronounce it. So everybody, thank you. Gregory, thank you very much. I called you Rice here just because it's easier. But take care, guys. Have a good day. And good kind of practice this week.